All right, here we are again. Let me check my feedback, make sure that you guys can hear me. Let's see. Uh, Let me see. Check my stuff. Don't mind me. I'm gonna mute it up a little bit. Hold on. Just checking my audio, making sure it's good. I don't think it is. Give me a second. Let me fix this. I might just have to not use my headphones on this one. Let's see here. I'm gonna mute up again. Is the audio better? Can y'all hear me well? I don't know. Hello, everyone. What's up, Kendra? No, it's not better. Clear but low. Oh, goodness. I might have to check my system audio. Sound settings. Master volume. Mm-mm. I always have to go through this stuff. It's ridiculous. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. Leave this on. How about now? Is it better? Okay. All right. So on this show, I have an order that I need to get because I ordered some food. So I'm not going to be on here very long. I want to make sure that I get my message out clear. I want to make sure that it is concise. Let me check one more time to check my body. I want to see how good it is. Okay. Anyway, so um, on this stream, I'm going to talk about a few things. Um, Game Changer was on Kendra's the other night, the Kendra Cure, for those who may not know uh, her name. And he was talking about uh, the presence of women and what is his criteria to have them around. Um, And what he mentioned was is that a woman's looks is highly important in his life. He didn't make sure he didn't say it in such a way that it was the end all be all, but he started to drift towards that rhetoric where he said that pretty women are more um, important than less pretty women or ugly, whatever you want to call them. I don't know. He pretty much said that seven through eights are more important than I don't know sevens and downs or whatever. Uh, but the point of it is that it's a rhetoric that has failed, which is what we discussed. But I want to expound more on it. It's a rhetoric that has failed, and the reason why we can see the way it's failed because there are a lot of pretty baby mamas running around. They're collecting that child support just like the ugly ones are. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if a woman is beautiful, then she has an inherently more beneficial place in her life. Maybe in regards to your sexuality, but less than that, no. And we all know that 20, 30 minutes to an hour, maybe two in the sack, is not worth the other 22 hours of your life being in turmoil. At least I would hope you would know that. But anyways, so I was jumbling around in my mind today about how I was going to attack this subject and how I was going to present it to you all. And I've been doing a lot of reading lately of different things, and it occurred to me out of nowhere. Occurred to me the story of Samson and Delilah. Um, as you if for anyone who doesn't know the story, you can find it in Judges. It'll be 13 through 16 the chapters, and that's where you can find the story. And it's a very detailed story. It's a good story. I actually like the story, um, and it tells the story of Samson's life from conception to death. Um, but anyways, the story is it has a lot of different meanings in it. But I want to focus mainly. Oh, excuse me. Hold on for a second. It's my alarm going off. But I want to focus mainly on how Samson got into the bind that he did. For you, I mean, everyone should know the story of Samson and Delilah. It's very popular. It's probably actually more popular than David and Goliath. There are a lot of stories from the Bible. Um, but I think Samson and Delilah is probably one of the most popular ones. But anyways, uh, the video y'all can't hear me. Hold on, wait. I'm trying to make sure that this message gets across excelente. Let's make sure the volume is good. Let me check my mixer. It says I don't have anything open. Speakers. Uh, make sure everything's good. Um, let's see. Let me check my. Oh, I think I know what's wrong. Why is this set to? Why is that only set to output 100%? Oh, there we go. I think that'll probably be better. Can y'all hear me better now? Oh, look at that. It goes back up. But anyway, the story of Samson and Delilah. Everyone should be familiar with it. Everyone should know exactly what I'm talking about. But like I said, there are many points of that story where there are different things that can be taken from that story. But the point that I want to point out about this story is, and it goes into actually one of the topics that I've been meaning to discuss, anyways. Um, well, I guess let me back it up a little bit. Um, the gynocracy. We all know what it is. We all know who some of the players are. We all know a lot of the ways that it functions, but I don't think we understand its inception. This is a template that has been expounded upon throughout history. Um, it has. metamorphosed over time through different civilizations into different things. Now we call it the spawn of of feminism and white supremacy, but that wasn't always the case. Throughout time and throughout the different instances, the gynocracy has sprung up. Um, the first instance of the gynocracy, if you're a religious believer, is the inception of man and woman. Uh, the woman, she tempted the man to do against what God said. A lot of people, I know some people are not religious and some people are, they don't believe in the same faiths, but you have to believe that you come from somewhere. Um, but my point of it is that throughout time we've been telling these stories of how women use what they are in order to manipulate men into doing things that are not good for them. No matter where the story came from, no matter which religious background it came from, there was always some woman who brought down the king. There was always some woman who brought down a prophet. There was always a woman who brought down a great politician. There was always some woman. Granted, that doesn't discount that men themselves do not have inherent things about themselves that they could fix, definitely. But what I'm saying is that you already have enough flaws. Why add to them by engaging into situations that could draw you down into not being successful in what you set out to accomplish? And women are one of these pitfalls. Now, should you totally disengage from women? I would not advise of that because you have an inherent nature to deal with women. Although at the same time, there are ways that we should handle women. Now, this is where the conflation is made, because the ways that are handled that women should be handled, men try to write them off as as the difference in their masculinity, meaning that I like a woman who does this, I like a woman who does that, I like a woman who looks this way or is this. But there are some rules that should be applied across every every interaction that a man has with a woman. And one of these main rules that you should have about a woman is, does she have a purpose to interact with you in the first place? That's the main thing that you should be considering in any of your interactions with women when it comes to interpersonal relationships. Now, I do understand that certain business deals need to be made, and you definitely need to get your groceries, and you may have to talk to a clerk or two. I definitely understand that, but this is more geared towards interpersonal relationships. Now, a lot of men assume that just because the way they don't know the depths of debauchery they can get into when it comes to women. I do. I have been through several different instances of where things did not turn out the way that I wanted them to, and thus I learned a very hard lesson. The saying, hard head makes a soft ass. That's kind of what happened to me. I progressively started to understood in the ways that I should interact with women by the mistakes that I made. And I just believe that when men, this is how I can equate what a man's level of masculinity is when he's making the same mistakes I did, but he doesn't see what the pitfalls are about them. That spells to me that I have transgressed to a level of masculinity that he has not, because I have sight that he does not, meaning that I can see things that he clearly cannot see. And not only does he not see them, he praises those downfalls. Well, those things that are going to cause his downfalls. This is where we need to get away from. Though we have a huge space of many different men who come from many different backgrounds, we need to understand that the way that we got here was through the same route. And what I mean by that is that we we got here by doing certain things over and over and over again. It expounded through the generations and it never was corrected. Pathologies are that of which they are, meaning that they are a certain set of parameters that are met to continue a certain experience of life. That's pretty much what it boils down to. It's not something, a pathology isn't something that just shows up and then it does what it does and now you're destroyed and then it leaves you for 100 years in your generation. No, a pathology is something that is perpetuated over and over and over again, and thus it creates the same problem that it did for the last generation. And I think that men are not recognizing this. And this goes to what I'm talking about in regards to what Game Changer was saying. Just like my brother Truth as I know it has spoken highly of him, I will do the same. He does not have horrible content. He is not a horrible person. Most people think he's comical and easy to talk to. Although at the same time, I am here to set things clear because there needs to be a counterbalance to the things that are not balanced. And I cannot, knowing what I know, let things like that just slide. Because I am here to teach the people who will listen to me. I am here to teach the people who seek understanding and seek the truth and no longer want to live in the existence that they don't like. So I'm here to give you the tools that I know how to give you the tools because these things work in my life. So to go back to the rhetoric, the the rhetoric was putting a woman's physical attributes first. Pretty much that's what I understood. I mean, he may correct me on it, but that's what the gist of the conversation I was getting. Like I said, he said that beautiful women inherently have more value than non-beautiful women, whatever that means, because there are some races do down in the bayous of Louisiana who thinks that all black people are the ugliest people he's ever seen, while you think Beyonce is the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen. So to a degree, eye is in the beholder of beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Nonetheless, what I'm saying to you is I want to make this a personal thing rather than a blanket statement that should apply across all men. Although at the same time, I want you to put your spin on exactly what I'm saying because he did give a blanket statement in saying that men should generally assess the woman's beauty first, and that should be the point where he pivots off to say if he wants to deal with her or not. I say to you, this is not the way to go because that will lead you down to many different roads that you have never intended on going. Because if you lead with a woman's beauty first, you miss so many other steps that you should have took before that. And some of those steps that you should have took before that are the same things that we complain about, that we keep perpetuating through the women that we choose, which is a validation to them, which perpetuates it through the generations forward. That is the problem. It's because we are missing steps and we are discounting that there are more important things that we should be accounting for in regards to how we choose our women. Once we start getting a hold of the list that we need for ourselves and what we believe are the most important things for our children and our future generations, and communities to come, then we can start correcting and turning the ship around. And that's what I'm here to do, of course. Now, I'll move on to the next part of this. The next part of this I want to talk about is the infiltration of certain women's that do not belong in this sphere of the manosphere. Sure, there are different spheres of the manosphere. I believe so, because we all don't have the same content. We all don't come from the same background. But we seem to formulate certain groups, kind of like SYSBM, it more, things of that nature. Those are different spheres within the manosphere, in my opinion. But commonly, we see that there are women who participate in the overall conversation that men are having, which I believe men are the leaders of this community, of this understanding, of this philosophy. We are having conversations with the women as if though they have some ability to turn this thing around. Though they may support, but they have no ability to do anything about it because they were part of the reason why this thing came down in the first place, to the point where we needed to discuss it and move forward on things. The problem is that we should not include them in the first place. I'm not saying that what they have to say is of non-importance, because yes, we should get some feedback to the women from the women, and we should get some feedback from the ones that we seek to lead, definitely. But it should not be so much so that you start to cultivate your ideology around what works for them while excluding what works for you and what works for your brother. That's the problem of this. It's because we're more concerned about coddling other people's feelings rather than figuring out how we need to fix this. Samson and Delilah. As you know, Samson was ultimately uh, tricked. I can't necessarily say that he was tricked because he understood that the Palestinians were against him. He understood that he had did something to them and they wanted revenge. Yet he became, I guess you can say, a prisoner to their desire to destroy him because they used the woman to get to him. They didn't. He was giving such strength that they could not stand against it, even with 1,000 men. But the problem was is that he was weak to a woman. That's what broke him down and brought him down past the point where he could not fight against them anymore. And of course, in his last strength and his last effort to exact what God had told him to do and what God had given him life to do, he did so. But the point of the story that I want to make is that women have always done the same thing over time. From the beginning of time up until now, throughout many different points in history, there has always been a woman to detract the man away from what he was supposed to be doing. And how did she do that? She did that with her ability as a woman that was God given to her ability to manipulate man into a different direction than what he wanted to go. But God gave you a counterbalance, or the magnificent, the whatever you believe in. There is a counterbalance to this. And this is your reason and sound judgment, your rationality, your masculinity. This is the reason why these men fall victim to this, because their masculinity is not in check, because your masculinity derives from principles that you do not change from. And those principles only include things that work. And we all know that looking at a woman's beauty does not work, and it does not fit in a consistency that says that if you pick a woman for her beauty, that she will be a good woman. So therefore, we understand that a woman's looks should not be a part of your principality. Therefore, it should not be a part of what makes you a man, because what makes you a man is your principle and your masculinity. So I hope I make this very clear that first off, a woman should have a purpose in your life, and without this purpose, she should not even know your name. Meaning that you should have a purpose for her before you even tell her your name. If you can't think of any reason to engage this woman, don't, because you don't need her. Obviously, that's how it works. That's how it should go. Simple as that. If you can't think of one thing for this woman to do that helps you in your progress, don't engage her. I'm not saying this because you necessarily don't have anything to do for her or this and that, but it goes back to a woman is here for a reason, and when she is not fulfilling that role, she becomes toxic automatically. You ever dealt with a woman who wanted your time all the time because you were at work, this and that? Because there's a certain level of attention that is needed to give to a woman, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be up under her all the time, but meaning that you should have something for her to do, meaning that she is tangibly contributing with her time, her effort, her hands, her feet into what is your desire. What is your desired outcome? What your future should be. If you cannot give a woman this task, you should not take a woman. And remember, this task should precede her even showing up, meaning that you can think of many things in which that you can have some help on, things that you can delegate to another person, things that you want from another person. And this should not include sex, because sex is the least of your worries. We have a world to be dominant over. Therefore, we should be always looking towards doing that. And I don't think sex is necessarily something that you can be dominant over and it gets to where you want to go. I mean, unless you want to be a porn star or something like that. And now I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't think most men want to be a porn star. In your dreams, believe me. Because if you had a woman that wanted sex 3 times a day, you would not like that. I'm telling you, you wouldn't like it from experience. But anyways, I'm going to move on to the third part of this. Now, we had these women come in and we know why they're here a lot of times. I'm not saying that every woman that comes here is here to detract. There are actually some women who are here to add to this space, but they shouldn't do so in a capacity where they're speaking amongst men, giving pointers on what life should be like, uh, and what direction things should go in. Because if they had the answers, they would have did it when they were in charge. Actually, they are in charge of the black community now. Obviously, they don't have the answers, so I'm not taking any suggestions at this point. Um, so the thing that I want to bring up is that I think that we should have a uniform criteria of who we should let in our spaces, because I practice this within my life anyways. Um, I'm probably going to add more on to this, and I'll speak about it in different streams or something like that. But generally speaking, you shouldn't let a woman into your space who you don't know. Meaning, if you know this woman in real life, and you can vouch for her as being a good woman who only seeks to move in the righteous way, in a good way, in a way that is beneficial, in a way that could add value to the life and into the space, then definitely you can have her and add her on to your online spaces. Because she's going to perpetuate what she perpetuates in real life. Here's one thing that you should know about women, and I said it before over at Truth as I Know It's channel, that women are inconsistent. And I don't mean that in a deep down way. I mean that in a superficial way. There is a consistency about women. It's just you need to figure out how to tell the difference between if her consistency is actually who she is, or if her consistency appears to be consistent and she is actually showing inconsistencies. Because I was saying earlier to my submissive that you can be consistently inconsistent, but you can't be inconsistently consistent. That's where men get tripped up because they think that second part is actually true. Meaning that sure, she did some stuff over here and now she's back doing good and she's talking good about people, but over here she's with the fuckery, and then over here, she has such a good conversation over here. That's consistently inconsistent. That's what you want to look for. And I think that having a woman that you actually know engage online with you is totally fine, if she proves herself in real life. The other part of it is that these women need to have some level of content about themselves, meaning they need to have something to show for the short, excuse me, to show their consistency, because we need a parameter to see where are you consistent in your rhetoric. And the length of consistency is important as well, because she can't be consistently saying the same stuff for a week, because a lot of women parrot stuff. You got to be on it for about a year or two before I even take you serious. To be honest with you, if I see you anywhere, one little shade, one little sliver of something where you said something that's a little bit sideways, you on my inconsistent list at that point. That's how I look at it. And you don't get ability in my space. That's how it works for me. And I think if more men practice that, then we can weed out a lot of this stuff by 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 holding ourselves accountable to what we let in our space. It isn't necessarily the women's fault, because that's what they are here to do. Remember, it's been going on since the beginning of time. You think it's going to change now? Of course not. These women are here to divert you into a different direction than what she believes you should go in. That's what the gynocracy is set up for. There are different levels to the gynocracy. There are people who are clearly in charge, and there are pawns. It's just like a chessboard. You don't send your queen out to do all the work. You send your pawns out first, and then you sit back and you watch. Then you send your rooks out. This is how it works. You don't send out your major pieces first. So there are different structures to the gynocracy, and to expect that every woman is going to look the same, you're going to fail. Another way, you need to up your masculinity, because your masculinity should give you the foresight that is necessary in order to see into the women the things that other people can't see. Because I can clearly see when there's something wrong, and if a woman gives me pause, then I sit back and I don't make any moves. I just watch what she does. Maybe I'll say hi, what's up, whatever, doesn't matter. But I sit back and I watch, because eventually that inconsistency is going to show. Remember, women are inconsistent. They're only consistent with who they truly are, but they're inconsistent with who they portray themselves to be if it is not matching and aligning with who they actually are. And that's how you figure out who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with someone that you find out is inconsistent, you might as well write her off to the gynocracy. Because women who are true to themselves are going to be true to themselves all the way around, and there is no inconsistencies about them. I know that I said that women are inconsistent, but they're only inconsistent about who they portray themselves to be if it is not consistent with who they are all the time. And I think men miss that. Or they're willingly ignorant. It's got to be some reason. But anyways, no matter the reason, the men should be definitely held accountable for it. Because if you knew, just like your homeboy, what's his name, C Boogie, if you knew this woman was debaucherous, then you're clued into the gynocracy, in my opinion. Because you're nothing but what do they call them, the people who engage, they don't actually do the crime but they help engage in the crime. You're an accomplice. That's exactly what you are. You're an accomplice to the gynocracy. That's the way I look at it. But anyways, I've been on here long enough. I figured that I would just clear a few things up and I would make things a lot clearer. Because it seems that people don't understand that there are rules to this shit. It's not necessarily something that your masculinity um, should actually what's the words I'm looking for? Should actually scratch that. It's not like your masculinity should be on pause at any point in time. Your masculinity should lead with at every point in time because that'll protect you from all the bullshit. You need to get some principle about yourself. I mean, that sounds so cliche and redundant, but it's the truth. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. That's what that statement really means. Meaning that you don't have any principles set up, so you'll fall victim to any of the traps that are set out there from the beginning of the time to get you on a direction off from what you're supposed to be. But anyways, let me address the chat. I'm sure that people laughing came by now. I said, "Hey, what's up, my little Kendra?" Uh, let's see, Bishop Red Pill, BJ, how you doing? Glad to see you in the spot. Osama bin Knocker. That is an interesting name. Good to see you here, definitely. Um, who else we got in here? James Kills. I remember you from the last stream that I did a couple streams back. Good to see you in the place. Book of Rhymes. I like that name. Raining Woman. Definitely a sister in here. Definitely. Who else we got in here? UFO Kamikaze. The homeboy is in the place. Red Pill Talk. What's going on, Valdez? Glad to see you over. But anyways, if you guys don't have any questions, if you don't have any comments, I'm always here for a little bit after, maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, something like that. Get you guys some questions in there because I know I talk on the chats and everybody sees me, and sometimes it'll be really awkward to ask questions on somebody else's stream when it's not pertaining to the subject matter at hand that the person is talking about on their stream. So I understand if people don't want to ask me questions there. So here I open up my stream um, so that you can get live feedback from any of the questions that you may have if you have any. Um, but I'll leave it up to you guys if you want to throw a little couple questions in there. But if not, uh, you know, you guys can see me out in these YouTube streets. But hey, what's going on? Nameless protagonist, Albert Bird, the homies. How y'all doing? I figured I'll just slide this one on in the archive because it needs to be talked about. Uh, but I truly believe that you know men need to get it together. I mean, we can blame the women all day. That's no different than what they do. They just point the finger at someone else instead of taking some level of accountability. Because accountability is actually how you improve because it gives you the opportunity to see yourself in the mirror. see how much lint you got in your hair. See if your teeth got a little yellow on them or something. It gives you real feedback. So yeah, yeah, I don't go live that often, Rainy Woman, but I probably need to. I don't know. It usually be loud as hell outside of my house because I live like on the main street. I live in plain sight. Nobody ever sees me. Believe me. If my house caught on fire, they probably wouldn't even notice. Though everybody drives by it every day. Hmm. Nameless protagonist said, "Oh, we don't have a safety net." Nope, definitely not. Well, thank you. I'm here to give it. I give it freely. I don't expect anything in return other than your ears. I don't ask for. I don't ask for money. I don't even care about the likes or whatever. If you like it, if you genuinely like it, I shouldn't have to tell you to like it. You know, that's the way I look at it. Uh, you know. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. I got a few things I need to do before I call it a night. I think I ate most of the food, so I need to go get the rest of it. But anyways, I hope to see you all in these YouTube streets on the other side of this whole Corona thing. But until the next time we meet, may you have a good day and peace be with you.